What's up? Welcome in another week of action-packed action on the Mike Arana show here on this Tuesday night. We're happy to be with you. Lots of stuff going on. Can already figure out something I didn't do in the studio that's pissing me off. I've got a blowtorch to bring to the fine folks at Meta. We've got a bunch of shit going on today. Vegas Mack, I will ask you how the hell you are doing, and then I'm going to turn the stupid fountain off. So how the hell are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a good day. I hope everybody survived or is surviving through whatever storm or they have, whether it's snow or if you're in Hawaii watching us, it's rocks falling from the sky from Kilauea, erupting. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on in the sports world, man. I think we've. I was looking over the show notes. I think we hit just about every sport because there's a couple of things at the end of the show that I'm going to talk about to make sure that we hit all the sports.
That, my friends, is called a tease in this industry right there. Feel free to comment along if you're watching along, and I want to get this out and get it out of the damn way before we go any further on this show. Those of you that are normally watching us on Facebook tonight, if you found alternative methods, and we gave you the 2 alternative methods to watch this program, if you're one of our normal Facebook followers, and some of you out there are laughing, like, who the hell uses Facebook anymore? Well, after this experiment, I don't know how much longer I will be personally. Over the weekend, unbeknownst to us, for no advance warning to us, our Facebook page was just completely taken down for allegedly misleading, fraudulent, or violation of the law was the message that was sent to us. And then in Facebook's infinite wisdom, Meta, I don't give a shit what your name is right now, you get a dispute form to fill it out. It happens all the time, especially in content spaces. There's some copyright violations that happen every now and then. I think we do a really good job on this program of, if we use something else, making sure we give the proper credit where it's due. I know several times via X, we've asked for permission to use things. Sometimes we've been told no, and we haven't used them. That's how the game works. Whatever the hell happened with our Facebook page this weekend, I have no idea. So those of you that have made the trek to find an alternative way to watch us tonight, we appreciate you. We're working on the Facebook thing. Our Instagram, which is also run and overseen by the same company that oversees Facebook, is still up and running, but we don't have enough followers, apparently, to go live on there. So it is what it is. If you're watching and you found alternative ways, we appreciate you. I'm about as happy as at what's going on with this situation as Bills fans are, as they have a new head coach today. We'll get to that. We'll get to another team that has a new head coach from this past weekend as well. So again, feel free to comment along. I know some of our audience is probably scrambling to find somewhere else to watch tonight. We hope you can make it over. We're doing what we can. I can't give you a timetable on it because right now nobody at Meta will even respond to anything because it's just AI bot chats that don't give a shit. So that's out of the way. Let's move forward. Mack this weekend, and it's almost time to bring back Mike versus Mack. It's that time of the year. We always start at the Wasted Management Drunken Open is where we start. Mack has a 2-year run on me winning the title here, so I've got my work cut out to me. I'm the only one on the show that hasn't really won any of our internal show prizes. TJ dominated you last year in the face-off on Wednesdays. You've beaten me 2 years in a row on Mike versus Mack. TJ gets the crown this year for having the most successful pick segment, as After Dark went 2-1 again this weekend for him. After Dark will be a part of our Super Bowl coverage. Plenty of stuff we'll tell you about over the rest of this week. One thing we're not going to do is dive completely into the Super Bowl this week because there's 2 damn weeks. We got plenty of time to talk about it next week. So let's start with some golf. As Scottie Scheffler goes and dominates the American Express this weekend for yet another tour victory for the best player in the world. And I'm watching this, and I'll admit it, this comes more from a betting fan's angle, if you will, but it really got me thinking, like, When I saw Scheffler making the move early on Saturday, and credit to Blades Brown with an incredible friggin' name, but also played some incredible golf this weekend as a teenager in that tournament. The American Express as a tournament as a whole is a giant disaster, and that tournament needs to go away. Somebody threw out a thought, and I wanted to bring this up first before we talk about what Scheffler's doing to the viewing audience here. The American Express should be played that you play until you bogey, and once you bogey, you're out. The problem then being with that is because the course is so damn easy for these guys. The courses are so damn easy for these guys in the Amex that tournament could go on for 3 weeks before somebody bogeys a hole. What'd you think of the Amex? I know it was really the first time that most casual golf fans, or golf fans in general, really dive into the PGA Tour because the season has officially started. What were your thoughts on the Amex before we talk about the elephant dominating the room?
I think it's kind of like spring training. I think they run out those tracks early on to kind of get the guy. Some of the guys haven't played in a couple of months. They play a little bit, but it's beginning of the season for them. So I think they roll out some of those easy tracks for them just to kind of make them feel good about themselves and kind of get them going. And listen, there's so many other right now sports opportunities besides golf that if you don't, nobody wants to watch a tournament right now where someone's going to be, one over is going to win. Yeah, we need that in July when we're watching the US Open. We don't mind it then, but nobody wants to watch that now. So I think that might be part of it. They just roll out these tracks where these guys are going to, put up some big numbers. And because if you're going to watch golf, that's the fun part of watching golf is guys making those shots. So I think that's probably maybe why they have it set up the way they do there. I think it's, and plus, normally the weather is good there. So
yeah, the Terminator, as we've referred to Scottie Scheffler on this program before, four birdies in a 6-hole stretch on the front nine, blew himself past Blades Brown, the 18-year-old that I just mentioned, and the rest of the field. Scheffler's 20th time he's won in the past 4 seasons. It's already earned him a lifetime membership on tour. More indicative of his dominance in the game is winning 9 of those 20 tournaments by 4 shots or more. He also joined Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods as the only players to have 20 tour titles and 4 majors before turning 30. There is nothing that can stop this guy. And from a golf betting standpoint, I'm at the point now where it's completely useless to me to bet on a tournament that Scottie Scheffler's playing in. And I know that sounds egregious because you're going, if you're a golf bettor, hey, there's markets without Scottie Scheffler. I don't hate those. I don't love them, maybe because I haven't won one of them. But I'm at the point now where if Scottie Scheffler's playing, I'm going to look at like 3 guys to finish like top 10, top 20, top 20. Because I think that might be your only pathway until somebody shows that they could compete with him on the highest level consistency-wise. Scottie Scheffler is kind of ruining golf for like the casuals. Or is he, Mac?
All right. So here's how when you proposed this to me, here's how I looked at it. Did anybody feel that way about Tiger? When he was, we were old enough to know and watch Tiger when he had his dominance. And it felt like every single week Tiger was winning, or if he wasn't winning, he was second. Lo and behold, somebody stepped up. Phil Mickelson stepped up. And it became Phil. So I'm proposing this in a different way. It's not this is not a Scottie Scheffler problem. This is a everybody else problem. Which one of you guys on the PGA Tour has the what to step up and become competitive with Scottie Scheffler? It's not about Scottie Scheffler. Scottie Scheffler is doing what Scottie Scheffler should do. Who is gonna step up? Is it gonna be Brooks Koepka? Are we going to get a Brooks Koepka step up? And it's kind of one of these things. We've seen some of these guys. We thought American golf was going to be set for a while. We had Spieth and we had Justin Thomas and we had Colin Morikawa. All these guys. You know what? They haven't really done what we thought they were going to do. Let's just be honest. And so, maybe it's one of these new wave guys. Maybe it's a Maverick McNeely. Maybe it's a
I knew you were going to try and find a way to sneak Maverick McNeely in.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to spitball some names out there. Rory does a lot of things, but I don't think Rory is really concerned about Scottie Scheffler, and I don't think he wants any part of that. So my question is, who's going to step up to be the Phil Mickelson to the Tiger Woods for Scottie Scheffler?
Yeah, and that's exactly it, because he's now won 4 of his past 6 PGA Tour starts and 7 of his past 13. He's finished top 10 in 16 straight tour stops, extending the longest streak by any player since 1970. Herb and Raj checking in.
Hey.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah, go Bama and Mizzou and score a shit ton of points. Let's get that thing over 166.5 for somebody that might have some action on that game.
There you go.
I think the thing that there's 2 parts to this. Nobody was complaining when Tiger dominated because a lot of us still were just warming up to the idea of watching golf in general. Number 2, Scottie Scheffler, much like Tiger when he started his dominant run, he's only 29 years old. So if we're going to find a guy, Mac, that on the PGA Tour can try and compete on a regular basis with Scottie Scheffler, I think it's got to come out of the, Brooks Koepka is the most bet on golfer this week at Torrey Pines in his return to the PGA Tour. Do I think that's a bad bet? No. Do I want to see Brooks back in a 4-round competing tournament kind of situation, let him get his sea legs under him? Yes, I do. Brooks can definitely be one of those guys, but I think the guy has to come out of a group. And you mentioned Maverick McNeely, and I know I bust your chops about it, but it's Maverick McNeely. It's Jake Knapp. It's Cameron Young. It's somebody in that group has got to be consistent. Max Homa reuniting with some of the people of his past. We'll see what that translates to for Max this year. But I'm already looking at this weekend, and I know we don't have Scheffler in the field this weekend, and that's great. But I'm already going to start my brain down this wave. So I'm looking at Tony Finau this weekend for a top 10. I know that's a risky proposition there because T. Finau hasn't played great in a while. Hopefully he gets back to that. Taylor Pendrith and Jake Knapp both for top 20s at the Farmers this weekend. 2 guys that have played Torrey Pines very well. And we know how it is at Torrey Pines. You've got to go low on the North Course because if you don't, you're in trouble because that's the course you got to score on. So I'm really interested to see how that kind of rolls itself out this weekend. It's a good weekend to try and watch some golf and some college basketball. Scheffler will take this weekend off before ending the West Coast stint with 3 straight starts, including the Wasted Management Phoenix Open.
Nice.
Where this amazing run, a lot of people forget, this is where it started 4 years ago for him, was winning the Wasted Management Phoenix Open. So we'll see what happens, but a chance maybe to make some money this weekend if you're into golf betting without Scottie Scheffler in the field. But I think we could be looking at just another year of flat domination from Scottie Scheffler. There's NFL coaching news and a lot of it to report. And let's make sure I don't get in trouble by Meta for something I don't know here. This is courtesy of our friends at CBS Sports, the head coach tracker. And do you see the 3 jobs up there, Mac, that don't have head coaches yet? Do you see a similarity between all 3 of those jobs that don't have head coaches? Those of you that were under a rock this morning, the guy on the left of the second row, that's Joe Brady. The offensive coordinator has been promoted to head coach in Buffalo. We'll talk about that in a second. But kind of ironic that the 3 clearly worst jobs on the table are the 3 jobs that are still left available on the table with seemingly no direction.
It's kind of funny. I'm laughing a little bit because you do a great job of setting us up for the week in our shows with an outline of what we have to do, and then we kind of do our research and stuff. And it's so funny. I have a little asterisk here, and I said, "What do these 3 teams have in common?" I mean, listen, Arizona, Cleveland, and Las Vegas. Let's talk about it. They are not good football teams. They are not good football organizations right now. Right. Here we go. I mean, these are 3 organizations that struggle. It seems like, I mean, you look at it, it's who's the quarterback, what is, I guess here's the thing. And as all these coaching things have come in, the one thing that I wrote down is, what are the identities of these teams? What is your team identity? And I think that says a lot. Can you tell me the identity of the Arizona Cardinals, Mike? Or how about
mediocrity at its finest?
How about Las Vegas? What is the identity of Las Vegas?
All the glitz and glamour and no good football.
And the identity of the Cleveland Brown?
What you flush down your toilet.
But I mean, all serious, like that's the problem. These teams
Mm-hmm.
don't have an identity. They don't have a track record. They don't have a track. We don't know where they're going, and they don't know where they're going. And I think that's the bigger deal. They really don't. I mean, I really don't know where these teams are going and what's going to happen with these three things. I truly feel like, I take one of the hats behind you and put some names in it, and they're just going to pick a name out one day and say, voila, here's our coach.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like, these were three of the first teams that had openings.
Yep.
And they still have openings.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I just, something has to change with these teams, but as we said, probably nothing's going to change with these teams.
Probably not. And that's the sad part for fans of those three organizations. And we found out today, per Diana Rossini of The Athletic, the Arizona Cardinals have already completed a in-person interview with Ron Rivera to be their head coach. Ron Rivera, who is currently the general manager of Cal football and has a new coach in Cal, and Tosh Lapoy, the former defensive coordinator of my Fighting Oregon Ducks. And a lot of good things going. Sagapatele is coming back next year, like a lot of promising things. But apparently the Cardinals decided to have that interview face-to-face. Interested to see what comes out of it. I think nothing. And, if you're the Cardinals, I get it. A lot of familiarity with Ron Rivera from his time in Carolina, especially the last time that the Cardinals made, at least if you could call it a consistent run to the playoffs, they did run into Ron Rivera and the Carolina Panthers. As we found out today, before we get into the two most recent head coaching hires, the Broncos have fired offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi on Tuesday, 2 days after Sean Payton said the team's offense didn't do enough to earn a Super Bowl trip. Well, if kicking field goals early in games would help those things. Wide receivers coach Kerry Colbert and cornerbacks coach Addison Lynch were also fired in Denver. That comes with a host of other coordinator news. Denard Wilson is now the new defensive coordinator for John Harbaugh's New York Giants. Bobby Slowick was promoted to offensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins. Yes, the Miami Dolphins head coach looks exactly like the new Miami Dolphins general manager. You're not imagining that when you see it out there on X. Jonathan Gannon, speaking of the Cardinals, their former head coach, is now the defensive coordinator in Green Bay. Arthur Smith, former offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers, is now the offensive coordinator of Ohio State. Be careful for what you wish.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's a couple other things that we need to talk about. Number one, has your phone rang today from spam caller, and did you answer it? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, you need to start answering those because number one,
Okay.
It could be the Browns trying to interview you to be the head coach. Number two, it could be the Jets to ask you if you have any interest in coaching anything because Aaron Glenn has basically blown out the entire coaching staff in New York. We're hearing Frank Reich might be the inside track guy for offensive coordinator there. So a lot of guys on the move. Mike McDaniel officially announced by the Chargers as their offensive coordinator today. Joe Brady promoted from offensive coordinator to head coach with Buffalo. I want to start with Buffalo before we talk about the other elephant in the room and why Steelers fans have no business crying about their hiring of Mike McCarthy, because a lot of Steelers fans have only been alive for one Steelers head coach, maybe two of them, so I don't think you properly know what a coaching search really has to do with. Are you surprised that Joe Brady was promoted to the head coach of the Buffalo Bills? And would it surprise you if the first play from scrimmage next year is Josh Allen in shotgun throwing a 1-yard screen pass to Khalil Shakir?
No, I mean, again, I think that's a safe move for the organization. I think that's exactly what it is. It's a safe move for the Buffalo Bills. What it does is it makes the number one guy happy, Josh Allen. I mean, this is all run by him. I think that's exactly what it did. It made Josh Allen happy. It's something that Josh Allen is going to be comfortable with, and that's why they went that direction.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And Josh is not a guy who is going to come out and make a ton of statements in the offseason. That's just not who he is. I'm interested to hear his comments, which we probably won't see, honestly, until he's in Tahoe playing golf at the American Century Championship in July. Mm-hmm. I would venture to guess. I mean, newly married, busy household, and a guy who likes to step away from football, so I can't say that I disagree with it. Rumors on the street have Jim Leonhard being the leading candidate to be the defensive coordinator of the Bills. Leonard is the passing game defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos, another up-and-comer in the coaching ranks. So interested to see how Joe Brady fills out his staff. If that's what Josh Allen really wanted, fine. I think it should have been Brian Daboll, who, as we indicated last week, the rumor was if he didn't get the Bills job, he was going to be the offensive coordinator in Tennessee under Robert Saleh's head coaching direction and get to lead Cam Ward into year 2 of his career as a quarterback in the NFL. I still think Daboll was the guy. I can see the Brady move. I'm excited if I'm a Titans fan because of Robert Saleh and Brian Daboll there. I'm really interested to see how this coaching staff in Buffalo fills itself out. And the reality of the situation is still the same for Buffalo. We know that they were one of the best run defenses in the NFL, and we know they went through an offensive season with a bunch of guys in spots that probably shouldn't have been there. So what does Buffalo do to improve the receiving core, improve the talent level around Josh Allen is the key, but Joe Brady's the guy there. In Pittsburgh this weekend, Yinzer and childhood Steeler fan Mike McCarthy is the new head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and a lot of shrapnel came from this weekend. A lot of people had, the same shirt, Spider-Man meme, Mike McCarthy, Mike Tomlin. I get it. It's not the young, flashy hire. But this is a guy that literally bleeds black and gold. And I think the makeup of the coaching staff is obviously key. Mike McCarthy's also had several coaches that coached under him that went on to be head coaches in the NFL. So I think if I'm a Pittsburgh fan, it might not wow me because it's similar to Mike Tomlin, but at the same time, there is a handful of Steelers fans out there that have only known Mike Tomlin and the end of Bill Cowher, and that's all they know about a Pittsburgh Steeler coaching search. You now have the floor for something that I know you've had a lot to think about since Saturday. Mike McCarthy's the head coach of your Steelers. What do you think?
I understand it. I'm going to start there. I understand why they went in the direction that they did. The ownership does not, and they don't even like the word rebuild. They're not going to rebuild. And so they think that this is a way to go. They hired Mike McCarthy because they want somebody to develop their next quarterback. That's what it comes down to. We don't know who that is. It could be somebody currently on the roster. It might be somebody else. We don't know who it is, but that's what they have to go. So this is a change from that standpoint. We have now somebody a little more offensive in there. I understand that. It does tell me a lot about, again, the organization of what they want to do. But here's kind of the idea. When I'm watching these games this weekend, Mike, I'm going, okay, of the 4 teams, where would the Steelers rank defensively with these 4 teams? Are they better than Seattle? Are they better than the Rams? So I'm thinking, okay, defensively, they're not really in the mix, but they're maybe not too far behind. They're not that bad of a defensive team. So I'll give them a pass on that. But I watch these 4 teams from an offensive standpoint, and I'm going, we're not even close to where we are. So, to think that the Steelers are, they were a playoff team, they have a lot of work to do from the offensive standpoint. So in that situation, why would you bring in a young, unproven coach into a situation that, in essence, we're saying we don't want to rebuild, we want to, I'll use the word reload because I can't think of another word, but kind of, we don't want there to be a step back. We kind of want to step forward. And so that's why they didn't even look at a younger coach. They wanted somebody who has listen, he's got a good track record. He's been a winner. He's won a Super Bowl. Not every coach can say that. Again, it does a lot depend upon the staff that he brings in. I think that's going to have a lot to do with it. I wasn't thrilled with it. I don't know that I still am thrilled with it, but I understand it. And I've always said this about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers always make the right choice. I didn't like it when, they let Rod Woodson go, or they let, a handful of their other good players go. It was tough to see them go and play a year somewhere else. But they always seem to got rid of the guy at the right time. I'm going to put faith in that this is the same thing with Mike Tomlin. He's gone at the right time. this is the right guy for this situation, what this ownership wants.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it. And the initial reaction for those of you out there in audience land from Vegas Mac to both TJ and I in our group text was not very positive. So I'm glad to see that Vegas Mac has taken a couple of days. Maybe it's Bahamas brain on his mind that's calming him down or whatever here. But I think there's two things that you said are very true. One thing that you said, and another thing that I'm kind of insinuating from what you said. As far as the coaching staff goes, according to Mark Caboli today, the Steelers will interview Las Vegas defensive coordinator Patrick Graham for their defensive coordinator spot, as well as Jason Simmons. Al Harris not on their initial list, although there are strong ties between Harris and McCarthy. Harris played for McCarthy and then was brought to Dallas by McCarthy to be on the coaching staff there. Jason Simmons is the defensive pass game coordinator for the Washington Commanders, as well as Patrick Graham, as I mentioned, being the former DC of the Vegas Raiders, another guy who started under Mike McCarthy's tutelage and has kind of worked his way up the ranks from there. Obviously, when you're coaching the Steelers defense, you've got plenty of tools in the cupboard to work with. Interested to see what happens there. The other thing that obviously everybody's tying to the McCarthy move in Pittsburgh is Aaron Rodgers. Does Aaron Rodgers come back? Because we know he went to Pittsburgh to play for Mike Tomlin. Aaron Rodgers leaving the Packers. There wasn't a whole lot of Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers issues in Green Bay. It was Aaron Rodgers and the direction of the organization there. So I think if you're a guy like Will Howard today, you're going, oh, please, God, bring Aaron Rodgers back, because now not only did I get a year to learn under Aaron Rodgers last year, now I'm going to get a year to learn under Aaron Rodgers with his old coach here. I think nothing but positives there if the Steelers really like Will Howard. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back, then that obviously opens up a lot of questions and a lot of different doors for how do they go about this, because this is not a year where there's a lot of good veterans available at the quarterback position. The number one name that everybody's jumping to is Mac Jones, who is still under contract with the 49ers. So you'd have to trade for Mac Jones there, but he is probably the biggest name that you've seen attached to some of these openings if you can wrangle him away from San Francisco, which I can pretty much tell you from how they view Mac Jones out there, that's going to be a hard ask to get him out of there. He's in a good spot. He enjoyed his time there. Obviously, he had some success for the Niners as well. So I think if I'm Will Howard today, I'm stoked, and I'm going, come on, Aaron, one more year. One more year with big money.
I don't – that's the part that kind of I don't like. I don't like the Aaron Rodgers coming back. And I've told you guys this. I said I've learned so much about Aaron Rodgers this year. He is a tremendous quarterback. You can see he is cerebral. I mean, he understands the game. We joke about drawing, the plays on the dirt and telling guys where to go. He understands the game. His body can't do it. He can't get that extra half second that he needs in the pocket to do the things that he needs to do. I don't like that. That's not a move that I would like. I will tell you this. This is I saw this name today, and I was
Are there Coles in the Pittsburgh area? I'm asking for my friend Kirk.
I don't know. I'll tell you what. There's a name, and I know you don't like this name, but I would be willing to give it a shot. If McCarthy's this, offensive, he's good with quarterbacks.
If you say Phillip Rivers, we're turning the show off right now.
No, Kyler Murray. No, I know. I say, listen, I get it, because
Kyler Murray without the contract, I think a change of scenery could be great. Kyler Murray with the contract, hell no.
I'm just saying, he's still pretty intriguing in some parts and ways. I mean, let's go. If you're bringing a coach in that this is specifically what he's supposed to do. Well, I know, but what are the other options? I can't
with you sometimes. That's why I drink during this show.
I know, but what are the other? I mean, seriously, like Kirk Cousins is not the answer.
I'd rather have Kirk Cousins than Kyler Murray.
Would you?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Right.
No, you don't want anything to do with Kyler Murray.
All right.
There's been enough out there in that contract. Even if I agree,
I know. Yeah.
That contract is
Oh, I know it.
arguably
Yeah.
one of the stupidest things the Arizona Cardinals have ever done, and they've done a lot of stupid shit before.
Right. Well, I'm not looking. I didn't even look. I didn't even think about it from a contract. I'm just talking about from an on the field perspective.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that's why the Rodgers thing is so fascinating here. If you're the Steelers, we know the quarterback class is not good this year.
No.
Their options where they're at if they wanted to go quarterback. What are you talking about? Carson Beck, Trinidad Chambliss.
No.
Like I don't
No.
know if either one of those moves the needle for me, especially like thinking that they could have to come in and play right away.
See,
So I think it's going to be interesting to watch. But I do think if there was a slim chance for Aaron to play one more year, I think he's done. And you brought up, you brought up the point of, he just doesn't have the physical to do it anymore. I think back to that one scramble he had, and I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was in the playoff game. If it wasn't the playoff game, it was the Week 18 game against the Ravens. But he had a scramble, and he kind of pulled up and he took a sack, and I'm pretty sure it was that Monday night game. And Joe Buck had brought it up, and the general gist of the conversation was that's a play that 5 years ago Aaron Rodgers gets 5 more yards on. This time he pulled up, and he probably still could have got the first down, but he didn't want to take the sideline hit, and he didn't want to go down. And I do think you're right there, and it's going to be a matter of can Pittsburgh improve their offensive line to keep them upright, and can an offensive-minded head coach in Mike McCarthy, I think that's the most exciting thing if I'm a Steelers fan,
Right.
is the fact that offensively you're not going to be stuck in the 1982 playbook anymore, and you would assume you're not going to be stuck in the 1982 defensive playbook anymore either.
It was the 78 playbook, but anyway.
I
but
wasn't sure which part of the year we were using which one.
But here's the other thing where I think a no to Aaron Rodgers. Their wide receiver room is a mess. They got Metcalf, and then other than that, they have nothing. There's nothing in that wide receiver room that
Go
they
get
have.
Brandon Ayuk. He'll drive there. He'll be there in like 35 minutes.
But I think that's a bigger thing with Rodgers too. I mean, the whole reason they went out and got the guys that they got at the end of the year were those veteran guys because he felt good. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to want to come back to a situation where he's got Metcalf and a bunch of young guys. Because I think if I'm the Steelers, this is the year you upgrade your wide receiver room with the amount of receivers that are in the draft, not the quarterback room. This is the year you work on your wide receiver room.
About 15 minutes from now, little love the college hoops because there's some fun stuff going on in college hoops right now. About 30 minutes from now, we'll get into championship week. And I think maybe the Steelers were actually playing chess while we're all playing checkers because clearly if you hire a coach with the name Mike, you are going to the Super Bowl. So
there you go.
The only one who hasn't been invited to the Super Bowl yet is this Mike right here. Roger, my phone is on right now. And as you saw last week's program, because I know you watched Mr. Goodell, my phone rings all the time during the damn show. So let's move on to a couple other things here. We've got a good old-fashioned Southern pissing contest right now in college football between Dabo Swinney and Pete Golding. If you missed this from late last week, this was something we tried to get into late in the week. But basically, in talking about Luke Farrelly in the transfer portal, the linebacker had already signed a contract and enrolled in classes at Clemson. And Pete Golding's alleged direct tampering with this player, Luke Farrelly, literally while this kid was in class, which is impressive. A, he was in class, and B, here's Pete Golding in Ole Miss trying to literally rip this kid out of Dabo's pocket after he signed a contract here. I can't say that I'm surprised by this. I also think it's hilarious that Dabo Swinney is now looking at getting guys ripped out of the portal because he's Mr. Anti-Portal.
Just when I think we've got this thing kind of moving in a good direction of some sort. I mean, I kind of feel good about the portal. I've enjoyed seeing this movement. Like, I mean, here's the thing. Now we got to turn to the NCAA again and say, okay, we need some sort of regulation on this. Okay, we've got to have some sort of rules, guys. And I mean, this is just if this is true, this is crazy. I mean, this really is. I mean, this is just, you can't do it. I mean, it's all there is to it. I mean, we got to figure this out. I mean, you think we're worried about 12 and 16 teams playing for a championship? I think this is a bigger problem. This really is. You're starting to see, schools being sued, pros going back to college. We gotta really have some smart people. We got to find some smart people, and we gotta lay down some absolutes for this NIL transfer thing.
The Clemson coach then threw gas on the fire later, calling the portal landscape, quote, flat out extortion in some instances, and cited Farrelly's case as blatant example of how ugly things have gotten in a system that seemingly has no consequences for bad actors.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, this is a whole other level of tampering, Swinney said. It's total hypocrisy. Man, how did I get through reading classes? This is a really sad state of affairs. We have a broken system, and if there are no consequences for tampering, then we have no rules and we have no governance. I can't say that what he's saying there is wrong. And if you saw the video that we posted a little bit before the show tonight on our social channels at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks, and right now everywhere but Facebook because Meta sucks. This is exactly what I was talking about. We need the governing body to preside over college football. And as I mentioned on Friday's show when I brought it up, Mac, a lot of people are saying, well, you can't have a commissioner. A commissioner is just a shill for the owners. Well, in this case, we don't really know who the owners are because it's as much the players in this current system and the agents as it is the coaches and the universities themselves. More so to the fact that Darian Mensah and Duke today settled their dispute about his contract, clearing the way for him to leave Duke, where he is expected to go to Miami. Kind of in an ironic twist, Miami gets all that money for going and representing the ACC because of the way the ACC's contract is. They use the $20 million they got, and they use it to steal a conference rival's quarterback. I'll say two things here. Number one, Darian Mensah throwing the ball to Malachi Toney next year. Sign me up for that shit. Number two, if you've seen Miami's schedule for next year, oh my God, is it disgusting. It is like somebody said this on Twitter today, it is one Tuesday night game away from being a Mack schedule. If you're wondering exactly what that schedule is, of course I have it here for you. It is at Stanford versus Florida A&M, at Wake Forest versus Central Michigan, at Clemson versus Florida State versus Pittsburgh, at North Carolina, at Notre Dame, Duke. Unfortunately, that game's in Miami, not at Duke. Otherwise, it would have been more entertaining. Against James Franklin's Virginia Tech team. And they finish with the Fighting Eagles of Boston College. Tell me that schedule doesn't suck out loud, Vegas Mac.
The only thing I can say is that one weekend in Pittsburgh, maybe I'll be there for that one. That would be the only highlight of that. That's
You could pull a Pitt Miami Steeler doubleheader weekend. I like
that. I saw the schedule came out for Pitt. I've already started looking at that. That's one of the games that I have highlighted. Of course I got to wait for the Steelers schedule to come out, but we're looking to do the doubleheader this year.
I mean, if you're going to do it, do it. I've always said if I go to New York, I want it to time out perfectly where I get the Warriors against the Knicks in the Garden and I get the Sharks against the Rangers in the Garden. Yeah. And I know because I've waited so long for that potential, and I have no problem going to New York for like 10 days. There's plenty of shit I want to see, plenty of bars I want to drink in, plenty of venues I want to go visit. So I'm not worried if I have to go for 10 days to make this happen. But I know now in this point of my life that if I see it work out in the same calendar trip, whenever it comes out, I have to act on it because it's probably never going to happen again. So good on you for looking forward to that next year. And we'll see if we can make that happen for you. Major League Baseball, the latest news in MLB. Plenty of stuff still going on. Plenty of stuff we're still waiting for as spring training gets closer and closer and closer to us. A couple of moves have been made. The Twins and right-handed pitcher Joe Ryan have agreed to a $6.2 million deal to avoid arbitration. Joe Ryan will be the top of everybody's trade wish list at the trade deadline this year, as he was last year. Interested to see the direction of the Twins. The San Francisco Giants went out and signed Mike Yastrzemski 2.0 yesterday, or today. I can't really remember which day it was. Harrison Bader to a 2-year, $20.5 million contract. So he will join the Giants. Yay. Again, Mike Yastrzemski 2.0. The biggest news in baseball over the last handful of days has been Jose Ramirez's new deal with the Cleveland Guardians. Includes salaries of $25 million from 26 to 32, with $10 million deferred each year per source. Also, according to Ken Rosenthal, private jet travel for one round trip per year, plus one trip to and from the All-Star game, additional hotel room on the road besides his suite. So plenty of people went and took that in their own direction. Awards package also includes a doubled from a current contract, so $500,000 for MVP, $300,000 for second or third, $150,000 for fourth or fifth, bonuses for the All-Star game, LCS, Gold Glove, all that fun stuff, MVP. I think a move that had to be made from the Guardians. I think, and we've talked about this, and I know you've said this quite a few times, Jose Ramirez, one of the more, if not the most underrated player in all of baseball. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to see a small market team, since everybody still wants to argue with me on this whole Dodger thing about this. It's nice to see a small market team spend the money to keep one of their stars there for the long haul. So congrats to you, Guardians.
Yeah, and also just the idea that you have somebody who is really, really comfortable and wants to stay there and kind of see this through. I think that's the bigger thing for me, that Ramirez is like, listen, I've gone through a lot with this organization, and I kind of want to see it through. We've had some success. We've been close. They're a good, fun, young team. I love it. I love it when you have such a quiet superstar like that who's just willing to go ahead and say, you know what, I'm okay with being where I am. I'm not looking for anything else. I want to see this through. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, it's tremendous to see. So again, congrats to the Guards, congrats to Ramirez. I think worth every damn penny. The jokes of the additional hotel suite on the road were hilarious all weekend long. Astros. Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa will not be playing in the World Baseball Classic. Correa told The Athletic on Tuesday he will not be able to play for Puerto Rico because his $31 million salary would be at risk if he were to be injured in the WBC, which runs March 5th to 17th. Correa said, "That's too big of a risk to take to play with no insurance. I'm definitely upset because I've been preparing hard this offseason to get better and be ready so I could be ready for the WBC." Altuve offseason procedure on his right foot. Matt Vasgersian said something today in reference to Jose Altuve, and it made me really think. We've seen the Astros kind of bring an influx of some of their young talent up. They've made a couple of moves, maybe not done here in the offseason. Jose Altuve as a trade possibility to send him out of Houston. I think, A, there'd be a lot of teams that would be all over that. B, I'm interested to see if Houston really does make the move, because this would be Houston, essentially, if you take out Correa, this would be Houston saying, hey, we're kind of done with that whole generation of Astros baseball. Correa left and came back, so we're resetting everything here. The Astros have a lot of young players that need opportunities to play and need opportunities to play every day in the same positions. We've seen them do a lot of shuffling and shifting, and it seemed like there was a very forced effort to try and keep Altuve in the lineup last year while also trying to see some of these other guys that they have there. I'm really interested to see if Altuve is one of those guys that does get moved this year, because we know the Astros are trying to get back to the top of the AL West. We know the Rangers are making moves to get back their spot at the top of the AL West. And then there's the rest of the AL West. The Mariners still up in the air how they're going to look, and then we know about the rest of it with the A's and the Angels. What do you think of Jose Altuve on the move this year, possibly?
Yeah, that would be a surprise to me. I mean, there's been a lot of heat with Paredes. I know even to the Red Sox, that's kind of a way that they're looking. I think that would be. I mean, Jose Altuve is good. I don't know that he's going to give you very much anymore. I mean, he's put him in left field last year. That was kind of a disaster. He's got to play second. That's kind of his spot. Again, you find a team that needs a veteran at the end. It could probably work, but I don't if he's not playing all the time, I don't think he's going to be happy either. So I think that's going to be a tough move for Houston.
Yeah, I think it'll be a tough move for Houston, and I think a lot of it dictates how the start is. But the thing with the Astros, as we've seen over the past 3 years, is it's not really the Astros start to be concerned with because they've had a couple of slow starts and been able to keep themselves in the mix. Last year, obviously, they weren't able to outrun their slow start despite going on a tear there in the middle of the season. So plenty of more stuff coming down the pipe as we get closer and closer to spring training. Final thing here before we talk about some college hoops. There are some great games going on in college hoops tonight. We'll keep you updated as to where those are. A couple of them. One of them just went into overtime. The other one is a 4-point game, 2 top 10 teams in the final 5 minutes here. So the NBA trade deadline is coming up on February 5th, and we've seen in the last week or so a handful of injuries. Jonathan Kuminga demanded his trade, surprise, surprise, out of Golden State. Jimmy Butler gets hurt, tears his ACL. Ironically, on a night where Kyle Juszczyk and Christian McCaffrey show up to the game. I mean, call that crazy. The Sharks were able to avoid any injuries when they did combo night supporting the 49ers. So not much to that conspiracy theory. But Jimmy Butler goes down. That changes the Kuminga situation. Now we've got Giannis with calf injury. That changes the Bucks situation, or does it? I'm really interested to see how the trade deadline plays out because now we're seeing Anthony Davis, Ja Morant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jonathan Kuminga, who's not hurt, but on a team that just lost one of their core 3 players here. I don't know how much you've watched the Bucks to this point. I've kind of intently been watching the Bucks as much as I can, just to see the general dynamic. We've all seen by now the double thumbs down from Giannis to the home crowd a couple of weeks ago, and Giannis is an interesting dude. There's been a long love affair with some of the Warriors brass and Steph Curry and Draymond Green about getting Giannis out there. I don't know what to make of this right now, and this is going to be one of I'm not going to say crazy because I expect a ton of moves, Mac, but I think crazy because we're looking at some major players in this that could be getting dealt while injured, which is something we don't often see ever.
Well, yeah, I mean, we do have big names. That's the thing. I was looking at it, and I started from in the Eastern Conference, and I was like, okay, I think here's the biggest deal with this. If I start in the Eastern Conference, how many teams in the Eastern Conference are really buyers? That's kind of what I'm looking at. Like, I'm looking like, they're not going to send, I don't think, like Giannis to like, Washington or something like that. But I'm thinking, okay, so who are the real buyers in the East? Is Atlanta? I don't think so. I can think we could rule Atlanta out. Brooklyn's always a buyer, but I mean, is that a place he's going to go? No. The only other teams that I could think of would be Detroit, the Knicks, and Toronto. I don't think he's going to go to Detroit. I don't think that's a fit. I don't think the Knicks would even be a fit. That kind of leaves just in the East. It's Toronto. It would be the only team that I'm like,
well,
if they were,
Giannis
and I can't.
Toronto would be scary though.
Right? Would that not boost that team up a little bit more? Like that would be something. So I'm like, you kind of rule out the Eastern Conference. I'm like, there's nobody really there that's going to do it. And then I'm like, so where in the West would he go? That's my question. I'm like, where would he go? I mean, Golden State, is that really a fit for them?
I think it's an incredible fit for them, and it's an incredible fit for him. The other thing is 2 things, and you know this, and TJ knows this because I said that I started saying this 2 years ago. Kuminga needed to be traded because he wasn't a piece that fit, and he was young and raw, and you didn't know a whole lot about him. Now you know he's still young. He's a couple years older. He's got all the potential in the world, but he's a little bit of a malcontent. Or is he? You also have another situation where Steve Kerr is yet to sign a contract extension with the Warriors with a shit ton of money on the table. And I think that is something that I think the Warriors' approach to the deadline with a healthy Jimmy Butler would have been a hard another push at Trey Murphy of the Hornets, of the Pelicans, who they've been rebuffed on a couple of times. I think another run at Michael Porter Jr., the only valuable asset that the Nets have. And I do think they would have made another run towards the Bulls because I think the Bulls are the most intriguing team in this whole dynamic to me. And we've talked about the Bulls. I've said this quite a few times. Everybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Billy Donovan fan. The Bulls seem to like not really have had a plan over the last couple of years, but they're really intriguing. You've got Kobe White, you've got Io DeSumo, you've got Nikola Vucevic, you've got Kevin Herter, all UFAs after this year. You've also got Trey Jones. He's hurt right now. I get it, but still a piece. And Jalen Smith. All of those guys would be upgrades for contenders. So I think the Warriors not having a coach under contract and losing Jimmy Butler throws a giant wrench into anything like that. And I'm the other side of it, and I could see Chicago being a fit for Giannis and Chicago having enough pieces and assets to trade, but then what's left to build the team around Giannis if you take some of those pieces out? So, I mean, if you're the Bucks, I know he's hurt right now. You've got to end this. Like it's got to end. It's got to stop. You can see when he's on the floor, he's not happy. The building's awkward. You've got Doc Rivers, who I think is already kind of a lame duck coach because we all know what Doc Rivers is going to do. He's either going to get you up 3-1 in a playoff series and lose, or he's just not going to get you there.
Right.
I think the intrigue of the Morant injury, the Giannis injury, the Butler injury, and we could be looking at
AD.
Yeah, well, AD. I mean, I don't say it because at this time it's usually what injury does AD have? Anthony Street Clothes Davis. I'm interested to see the Bulls' place in all this because as we have talked about, you've talked about this a couple of times. You said it this morning on the channel in diagnosing the East. I think the Bulls are a key player here because I think the Bulls, out of any team in the league, has more to offer anybody, as in multiple pieces you could bring back.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I kind of really dove into the East, and I put them as the one team in the East that I put as sellers. I mean, that's what they are. Like you said, they have a lot of pieces that they can give up. You know, I really think we have some big names. I don't think these big names are going to get dealt. I think we're going to see a lot of little moves for people to kind of fill in some needs that they need. But I don't think we're going to see the big move being made. Not like we saw last year.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. So plenty of stuff to keep an eye on as we close in on that as well. Let's get to some college hoops here.
Yeah.
If you missed it last night, an absolutely amazing game between BYU and Arizona. Arizona with a huge block at the end. They keep themselves undefeated in taking down the Cougars. We've got some fantastic games going on tonight. Michigan has been able to hold off previously undefeated Nebraska 75-72. Cover for the Huskers. The Huskers dropped to 20-1, 9-1 in the Big Ten. That game was tight all the way through. We also saw Michigan State outscore Rutgers by 9 in Piscataway to get an overtime victory, 88-79. Michigan State and Michigan are on my hit list for this week as they get together on Friday night. Arkansas has knocked off Oklahoma 83-79. Other ranked teams in action right now, Alabama up 61-44 in Missouri. That game needs to pick up the damn pace. Purdue and Indiana 17-16. Hoosiers early in that one. It's been an interesting start to college hoops, man. There's been a lot of good games, and again, we talked about this. This is that time when a lot of people start really diving into college hoops. You know, you get into the start of conference play, you get your lay of the land, and believe it or not, Mac, 47 days until Selection Sunday. So as we sit 47 days away from Selection Sunday, we haven't been able to do this in a couple of weeks. What is the current Mac 5 in college basketball?
All right. Well, when we last left you guys, we had Michigan at number 1, Arizona at number 2, Duke, Purdue, and UConn. That was our 5. One thing didn't change. I kept UConn at number 5. They're in their battle tonight with, the Providence Friars. Close game, doesn't matter. Find somebody from Warwick or Cranston, throw them out there. Doesn't matter. That game's going to be close. I have a surprise at number 4. I did a little deep dive on these guys. At number 4, I put the Fighting Illini of Illinois. And they have a big game coming up against Nebraska, but I put them at number 4. That's my surprise of the week. The rest of it kind of as is. Duke still at number 3. I moved Michigan down to number 2, and I moved Arizona up to number 1.
There's your Mac 5 for the week. And you mentioned,
Hmm.
Mac, one of the games that's on my hit list,
Hmm.
Illinois at Nebraska. And this game's
Yep.
on Sunday. So interesting placement there on you know, a good placement for them on a weekend where we don't have a football game and we're all going
Absolutely.
on Sunday. Hey, what do we watch? The end of a golf tournament without Scottie Scheffler, which will be exciting. You can also watch Illinois and Nebraska. So that's on the hit list for this week. I mentioned the other game, Michigan at Michigan State. BYU, they're at Kansas on Saturday. St. Mary's and Gonzaga on Saturday night. Always a great one. Early game on Sunday as well as the Illinois Nebraska game. Alabama's at Florida. So
Hmm.
interesting games as far as the top 25 goes. I can't wait to see St. Mary's and Gonzaga on Saturday night. That is always a battle. The West Coast
It's a good one.
Conference, I will always go to bat for the West Coast Conference. I think absolutely incredible basketball gets played in that conference, and it's going to suck to not see Gonzaga playing in that conference anymore.
I know.
But it is what it is. Make sure you check that one out on Saturday night. Vanderbilt in action tonight. They're up 18-7 right now on Kentucky, undefeated University of Miami, Ohio. They are down
Yes.
6 to the Minutemen of UMass right now, early on
Oh.
in that game. So we have, what is it now? I think we only have 2 undefeated teams left
Yeah.
now because Nebraska went down
Arizona.
tonight.
Yep.
Arizona
Arizona.
and Miami, Ohio. There's your
There you
national
go.
championship game, folks. Interested to see what
Oh,
Nebraska does from here, though. They get their first, they take their first loss this year, off to a good run. How do you respond to that? We've seen teams get off to hot starts and go through a little bit of a funk. But from every indication in the bits of the game that I saw early tonight, just an absolute back and forth battle there. So their next game is against number 9 Illinois,
hmm.
and that is let's do the math here, 4 o'clock tip off on the East Coast, and then they're at Rutgers, and then they have a game with Purdue. So we're in a stretch now where they lost the first one against a ranked team in Michigan tonight, played a close game, and they have number 9 Illinois and number 12 Purdue all in about a 2 week period there. I guess it's time to talk about it.
All right.
We have a Super Bowl.
We do.
It is the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. So the Seahawks and their fans get a chance to avenge not running the ball from the 1 yard line. Those jokes are running rampant
Oh,
already.
yes.
I'm not surprised. I think I could have seen any combination of Super Bowl matchup come out of this, and I wouldn't have been surprised. Maybe Denver a little bit. Happily took all the points because that was a given. My biggest takeaway of the weekend is probably this, Mac. I feel like I had the dumbest betting weekend I've ever had in my life this weekend. It should have been plain as day that the over was the play in the NFC Championship game. Yet
Right.
again, these two teams put up a shit ton of yards on each other in that game. And even furthermore, how could I have not foreseen Cooper Kupp having the game winning touchdown against the friggin' Rams? Tweet of the week that I can't play tonight because now I'm gun shy because of the Facebook situation. You remember it, the Shawn Michaels Ric Flair match, and Shawn
Yep.
Michaels said, "I'm sorry, I love you,"
Yep.
and then
And boom.
super kicks him. That was Cooper Kupp to Matthew Stafford. That was probably my thing. I think the AFC title game played out kind of how I thought it was going to. Whether Bo Nix played or not played, I figured it was going to be a close game, probably going to be a low scoring game. I don't think I was really surprised there. And I don't, again, like, that's why after the Seahawks finished the victory, I was like, how did I not see the over? We sat here for a week talking about these two defenses have been really good, but they've really moved the ball on each
Mhm.
other when they've played. What was your takeaway from the two games on Sunday?
I was thinking, oh my gosh, in the second game, like, both teams came out, had their defensive hats on, and I'm like, you know, is this going to just be it? Like, are we going to get stuck at a low scoring game, and then all of a sudden it's like, bam, it just kicked on, and we're like, all right, here we go. Now first team to 50 might win this one. That's kind of how I felt that game was going. So I mean, it's such an entertaining game. Um, you know, People are really bagging on the AFC Championship game, because of the weather and whatnot. And listen, This happens all
But
the
do
time.
you know, Mac, how hard it is to play in those conditions? I mean, Jim, do you understand? Like, it is snowing a lot out there. Jim,
Oh
it
my
is really
gosh.
hard to play in these. Dude, I'm still hearing it in my nightmares.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Hey, it is what it is. Listen, what I was gonna say is it happens in other sports that play, outside in the elements. We see it in baseball. There's a storm coming in. You see a baseball team play for a run or two in order to get the lead because you think the game might get rained out. It happens. You can't tell me that anybody on that coaching staff didn't know that whatever that was hitting them was going to hit them in the second half. You had to know that was coming. Um,
Mm-hmm.
to me, that's where I wrote down, analytics are great. I play a game like I play it's right here. Shout out my boys at Stratomatic. Okay, my boys at Stratomatic. I've been playing this game since I've been 7 years old. Mike, this game is based on statistics. Okay, it's great. I played since 7 years old. That's like 90 something years that I've been playing. I've only had one no hitter in the whole thing ever. But it's based off statistics. But you know what? When I play it, it's not just the statistics. It's human element that goes into this. There is a human element that goes into this game. These coaches are playing dice game. They're taking the human element out of the game. You can't tell me that they didn't know that we got to kick this field goal. The storm's coming in. We got to get points on the board. We've got a freaking backup quarterback. That's to boot. Like, even if it wasn't the weather, whatnot, we have a backup quarterback. Let's take what we can get when we get it. I mean, analytics are great, but there's still something about those coaches and those people that use their gut to figure things out. And I think that was a bad gut play.
So you were an analytic dork before there was analytic dorks. How do you get a no hitter in a pegboard baseball game?
It's not peg, it's with dice. And I've only got one. And I literally, listen, I've played thousands of these games, if not 2,000 of these games. One no hitter, it was Teddy Higuera. And I got it back in college. It's the only no hitter I've ever done. I've tried to fix the game to get no hitters. I've tried like Nolan Ryan against guys that can't hit. I still can't get a no hitter. Listen, the game's the game. You gotta. There's a human element to it, and that's what the analytics are taking away. Soapbox.
I have so many things to say right now. The one thing I do want to say is, of all the nights for our Facebook audience not to be able to watch this, you just brought up something that probably only our Facebook audience would actually know about there. Let's get more into game by game here in the AFC title game. Obviously, the play that you've been referring to was the decision by the Broncos to not take the field goal in the first half before the weather conditions got really bad. Jim, you know how hard it is to play in those? I get it. I understand both sides of it. I mean, I think with a backup quarterback even more so, you should have taken it. But, I mean, Denver had more than their fair share of opportunities to win that game. They had more than their fair share of field position advantages, and they just weren't able to get it done. And, I mean, it's a team that's not going anywhere. Yeah, it would have been nice to seen them with Nix, with J.K. Dobbins, with Troy Franklin, but at the end of the year, how many teams do we ever really see at completely full strength? I think this Broncos team, definitely a team to be reckoned with going forward. It doesn't sound like Vance Joseph is going anywhere, and that's a great thing, maybe to the Raiders, but it sounds like most of what we see in Denver is going to remain intact, and the things that Denver already wants to get rid of, they're already getting rid of. Who's going to be the new offensive coordinator, and how much does that really matter in Denver with Sean Payton there? I don't know. But from a Patriots standpoint, I mean, again, it's this team has literally morphed themselves into 53 Mike Vrabels, and I still laugh at the fact, what were we thinking by not making this happen the year before? Obviously, timing is everything, and it's worked out perfectly for all the massholes out there that are back in full force. All those 7-year-olds that had never seen a parade for a Boston sports team finally have their streak ended, and the Patriots are returning to a Super Bowl here. And from top to bottom, man, like, and this is why the Patriots, I think from a betting standpoint, it's horrible that they're in the Super Bowl because they are the hardest team to peg because every time you think you're going to see a lot of Travion Henderson, you get Ramondre Stevenson. Every time you think you're going to see a lot of Kayshon Boutte, all of a sudden Mack Hollins is back healthy. Now he's back in the offense, and Hunter Henry doesn't do as much. There's so many parts there, and for an incredible offensive mind. And I think this is what would be intriguing to me if I was a Chargers fan today. Josh McDaniels, failed head coach, went back to what he's good at, and look at the Patriots offense. Mike McDaniel, ironically, almost the same damn last name. They're both tiny guys. Right. They're both real quirky. Mike McDaniel's there with Justin Herbert, and are these the things you can do with Justin Herbert that he's been able to do with Drake May? I mean, that I think is the first click reaction to me on this Super Bowl matchup from the Patriots side is all of the different ways they can do things on offense against that dark side, the new nickname, because they're not the Legion of Boom, the dark side defense for the Seahawks. What did you take out of the Patriots side of that performance?
My thing is that, from an offensive standpoint, they're getting it done. When they have the opportunities, they're taking advantage of those opportunities. And listen, it's been clunky. You still have a young quarterback, but I mean, this run they're on. I mean, the Texans, a top 3 defense. The Chargers, again, a top 5 defense. Denver, one of the top defenses. And if they go and beat Seattle, they're the best defense. And so they're doing enough. When the Patriots get an opportunity, they seize the opportunity. They got the turnover, which, by the way, Mike, I thought we were going to get that Pats defensive touchdown. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, it's going to happen. But they take advantage of it, and that's what these good teams do. And I don't think enough is being said about the Patriots defense as well. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing. But again, Maine is doing enough in these games. He really unsettled through a lot of that game. But when they needed to make plays, he's making the plays. And I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, Patriots advanced to their 12th Super Bowl. And again, congrats to all the people that are Patriots fans, man. You guys suffered for so long for this team to get back to the mountaintop. I mean, what a show of perseverance by you. Speaking of taking a long time to get back to the mountaintop, Sam Darnold and his Seahawks, as he morphs into freaking Joe Montana in the NFC Championship game. And another one that I don't think anybody's surprised on. I mentioned on Friday's show when I picked, and I told T at the end of Thursday's show, I said, what's the Super Bowl? Mike and Mike versus Sean versus Sean. And I can't remember what T said. I said Mike and Mike, and then I waffled and I went to Sean and Mike, Denver and Seattle. I kind of feel validated at this point. I can't really pat myself on the back because my shoulder hurts from typing all these messages to Meta trying to get our page back. But I kind of saw this coming, and I saw it last year. And to see the Seahawks get this done, and in a game that I know the Rams came back in it quite a few times, but I don't think watching that game at any point I felt like the Seahawks didn't have the game. I mean, they were on it from the start. Anytime LA did anything, they had an instant answer. A little bit of a gaffe by Sean McVay as far as timing goes at the end of the first half that really kind of blew the game open and made it impossible for the Rams to catch up from. What'd you take of a very exciting NFC title game?
Did we just watch the Super Bowl? That's my take. Did we just watch the Super Bowl?
I think so.
I really do. That's my initial thought. Like, we just watched the Super Bowl. Like, and here's the thing. What would you pay to see it a fourth time? I mean, I know you want to say, but I'm serious. But as a football fan, would you not want to see that? No. come on. I mean,
Off of their last two games this year, off of the Thursday night 2-point head conversion,
right.
and that game on, you can't top those two games back to back. You go give me a third one, it's going to turn into like a 6-4 shit show with Bad Bunny playing at halftime. No,
There you go. But anyway, that was my initial thought. I was like, I just think we just watched the Super Bowl. Donald was absolutely amazing in that game. Everything that he did was just spot on. He looked like the number 3 pick in the draft. And again, it's we talked about a couple of things here and there. You've talked all along about how good the Seattle defense is. I mentioned in the video, I thought the difference in the game was going to be that Seattle was better on special teams. Lo and behold, we got it right. Those were two things that were huge in that game.
yeah, and for Seattle now, Sam Darnold, who threw for 3 touchdowns in the game, is the first quarterback from the 2018 draft class to go to a Super Bowl. Figure that out. He had the best game ever by a Seahawk quarterback in an NFC Championship game. They advanced to their 4th Super Bowl, 14-3, now 16-3 are the Seahawks this season. Doing my own math screwed me up there. 9th straight win for the Hawks. That is their 2nd longest streak in franchise history, second to only the 11 that they won in a row in 2005. The Sam Darnold is the first USC quarterback to start a Super Bowl is one that you have to you hear it and you go look it up because you don't believe it. But I love this. I love this for Sam. I love it for Cooper Kupp. Now we're hearing the story, whether it's true or not, after the game that the Rams basically tried to convince him to retire, and he said no, and he goes up to Seattle and really doesn't do a whole lot of much this year and has his best game and the game-winning touchdown against the Rams of all teams. The Rams looked every bit a team that had been on the road for their 8th time in the last 10 weeks. And their defense looked every bit the defense that over the last 8 games was giving up a lot of points and a lot of yards to not the greatest offenses in the world. So I'm not surprised to see Seattle dominate and move through. I'm very intrigued by this matchup because Mike Vrabel on the other side of this matchup, the other Mike at head coach in this matchup, he tied George Seifert of the 1989 49ers with 17 wins in his first year as a head coach. Jim Caldwell in 2009 was 3rd on that list. And now Braves gets a chance to set the new benchmark there if he can get to win number 18. I think the coaching matchup in this game is incredibly intriguing to the coaching nerd in my brain. I think not enough can be said about the addition of former Ram last year, Ernest Jones, to that Seahawks defense, the guy who publicly backed Sam Darnold when the offense was struggling this year. And if you saw his post-game interview, was very happy for Sam. I think and I mentioned this when we were doing our touchdown video, that I thought Clint Kubiak was going to have to be in his bag from a play calling standpoint. And he busted out a play that Kyle Shanahan used back in Atlanta when he was the OC against Sean McVay, which is even funnier, on that touchdown where Jackson Smith and Jigba was more wide open than he's ever been in his damn life. Jake Bobo got in there in the mix for a touchdown. Seattle's got just as many interchangeable parts when it comes to an offensive standpoint as New England does. I think that makes that matchup very intriguing to me, is which offense can have more success. And again, we're going to get way more in depth in this as we get a little closer to the game. Tomorrow, we're going to take our first dive into the Super Bowl matchup with our X factors. We're also going to give you our thoughts on some early Super Bowl MVPs. And then next week, we'll get way more into the detail of what goes on here. In your first thought, Mac, and we see this, the Super Bowl spread is Seattle by 3.5. You're over-under on this game. I don't want Pro Bowl numbers. Get the hell out of here with that shit. It's actually up to 4.5 now in some spots. The over-under 45.5. I'm not going to step on your toes here because I'm sure you're going to have some Super Bowl updates on Ticket Tuesdays, but fantastic matchup. 2 14-3 teams, 2 16-3 teams if we want to be technical here. Building that Seattle is extremely comfortable in. in Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, where 2 weeks ago they manhandled the 49ers. Last year they beat the 49ers, so they're very familiar. All of you, those of you with your power plant jokes, you can save them because the Seahawks are not practicing at the Niners facility. San Jose State and Stanford will be your practice locations for the Super Bowl. So no, the Niners aren't getting one over on the Seahawks and this power plant tinfoil conspiracy bullshit. What's your first thought on the Super Bowl matchup?
My first thought is that Seattle is playing so darn good. I mean, in all three phases. I mean, they just are. I mean, we knew they were playing great defensively. We know they were playing great, their special teams. And then their offense, we were a little worried about with some of the injuries, how they were going to look from an offensive standpoint. I mean, they look absolutely fantastic. I mean, I initially find it very hard. I'm like, I don't know how the Patriots are going to handle this Seattle team, because if Seattle is able to put points on the board like they did last week, I think this is going to be a tough matchup for the Patriots.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And speaking of the Patriots, before we get to Ticket Tuesday here, there's no way in hell we weren't going to talk about this. Bill Belichick, 8-time Super Bowl winning coach, is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. In voting earlier this month, Belichick fell short of the 40 of the 50 votes needed to get induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame during his first year of eligibility. 4 sources with firsthand knowledge of the outcome told ESPN. Belichick received a call from a Hall representative last Friday with the news that he won't be inducted into Canton this summer. Several sources who spoke with the coach over the weekend described Belichick as puzzled and disappointed by his inability to secure support from 80% of the Hall committee members. Yet again, another example of why Hall of Fames are complete and utter horseshit. A story came out a little bit later today after this story broke that Bill Polian is one of the people who's been a little outspoken, and that the penance for Spygate, according to this report, per what Bill Polian said, is that he shouldn't be allowed to go in his first year. Is there not a bigger form of absolute horse shit in the world than Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer? Like, are we kidding? What are we doing here?
I know that's just like, was it Mariano Rivera or was it Derek Jeter? Like one of those, I think it was Mariano, that somebody didn't vote him in, like, and the first one, like, come on, like, I get it. Like you get your grudge and hold it, but listen, you can't do that. It's not what it's about. It's about what they did on the court or on the field in this case. It doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah, it's people ask me all the time, like, oh, you have no interest in the Baseball Hall of Fame, or I'd go see the Hockey Hall of Fame. I'd probably go see the Basketball Hall of Fame, because I don't think either one of those sports has ever bastardized their Hall of Fame like the NFL and Major League Baseball has. This is a perfect example of why I think the NFL Hall of Fame, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame are horseshit, because this is disgusting. It is deplorable, and it is a perfect example of why a lot of these people that have votes to decide this shit are so out of touch with any semblance of reality whatsoever. It is a Tuesday, and we haven't gotten to do this for a while, and it's going to be a couple weeks before we do another one.
Yes.
Ticket Tuesday with Vegas Mack, the tightwad of the show, and he tells you where you can find values if you want to go see sporting events. Unsponsored, but needs to be sponsored. MikeArenaShow@gmail.com if you want to be a sponsor of Ticket Tuesday. Vegas Mack, the floor is yours.
Listen, I'm going all over the place. Listen, I know normally we don't like to spend money, but listen, I'm going to tell you, if you got a chance to spend a little bit of money, where would you spend it? Here's one coming up, because again, listen, we're not going to be able to do this for a couple of weeks. February 2nd, the Bean Pot, the greatest college hockey tournament ever, and will always be. That's a good way to go. $56 for the first round. Don't forget, you got Harvard at BC and Northeastern and BU. You get to watch both games, so that's a pretty good deal. But listen, I told you we were going to take you around some sports. We're going to know what's coming up in a couple of weeks, the Olympics, right? So I'm like, hey, listen, let's get in Mike's jet, and fly out. How much would it cost us, Mike, to watch
For you, nothing, my friend.
Yeah. How much would it cost us to go watch one of those first round hockey games in the Olympics? Only about $30. not
Did
bad.
they
But
finish the ring yet?
yeah, I don't know. But
Mamma mia.
listen, we don't want to. If we're going to the Olympics, we don't want to go watch hockey for $28. We can go watch curling. That's where it's at, Mike.
Oh.
Curling, $28. Listen, I found us a couple of good deals. We haven't done a whole lot on the ice. I did find a nice one for Thursday night and a pretty good matchup as well. Nashville at New Jersey, $11. That's not bad at all. Listen, how about a little NBA? I told you we're going to take you all around. Charlotte at Memphis, $4 for an NBA game. A kind of Charlotte.
Is that an NBA game?
Listen, you and I both know we'd like to watch that Charlotte team play. They're not bad. But here's a better one. How about Sacramento at Philly for $7? That's not bad.
Oh,
But listen, I know. But listen, we're gonna do.
Sacramento?
I know. We're going to do the weekend thing again. We're going to take you coast to coast. We're going to try to get you an early, a late, a middle, and a late game. And we're going to start with the highest price and work our way down this week. We're going to start early in the morning. We're going to go DePaul at Xavier. $9 gets us into that Big East matchup. Our second matchup of the day, we've got Cal at Miami. That's going to be $8, so $1 less. You see the trend we're going. And we're going to finish it up. North Dakota State at South Dakota for just $7. That'll give us a little extra money for mittens and gloves and everything else we'll need because it's probably really cold there.
Yeah, and your dog is upset with you because you didn't mention any bark in the park days, as I can hear.
I know. Sorry.
The opposite of Ticket Tuesday, those of you that are like, I love this time of year because, like, you do get some genuine fans that are like, yo, here's why I really want to go to the Super Bowl. And it's, I'm not trying to shit on anybody's story. I'm not at all, because I was in a very similar situation a few years ago and didn't get a chance to go to a Super Bowl with my father. And I hate it every day. So I'm not trying to shit on a story, but you also can tell the people that are full of shit, hey, just help me out. It'd mean the world for me to go to the Super Bowl. It'd mean the world for a lot of us to go to the Super Bowl, Gene. And
Right.
with lowest price right now on this site that I'm looking at, which I will not name because they're not a sponsor of the show, $6,069 is your cheapest ticket to get into
It's
the Big
just
Zipper.
so stupid.
And your most expensive ticket to get into the Big Zipper in Santa Clara is $38,896. Now, I wonder if all these people that want to say that the Niners practice facility and the electromagnetic vibes coming off of it is the reason why Super Bowl tickets are probably not being sold at the earliest possible chance that they can, because you're sitting kind of right next to this place. If you want to go to the game, 40 G's will get you a great seat. 6 G's will get you your nose bleeding at the top of the Levi's Stadium uncovered deck, which isn't an issue at this time of year. So if you're wanting to go to the Super Bowl, sell your house. It's about the only way you're going to get there. Would you go to a Super Bowl? My dad's been to 4 of them. Granted, that was when I was a kid, so it didn't cost you $7,000 to get a nosebleed.
That's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't pay the money. I mean, if somebody gave me a ticket, obviously you would go. I mean, that's just a no-brainer.
I don't think I would if somebody gave me a ticket. That's a weird thing about me.
I'll tell you, I've been to a World Series game. I've been to a couple of World Series games.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to Stanley Cup playoff games. I've been to NBA playoff games. I've never been to an NFL playoff game at all. To me, I think for the atmosphere and whatnot, I think football is better elsewhere. I mean, I don't mind going to a football game, but I think a big game like that, I don't know. I'm excited. Here's the thing. Like, I'm excited about going to Pittsburgh next year and being in the stadium, and like that to me is exciting. The Super Bowl, not so much. I think Super Bowl would be more fun maybe on a cruise ship somewhere.
How
about that?
Interesting.
Could happen.
We might have to make that happen for you. I've been to a World Series. I've been to an NFC Championship game, a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to NBA playoff games. Never been to a finals game. I've actually been to 2 Stanley Cup playoff series in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting trivia question here for you. Perfect way to finish the show.
Okay.
I've been to 2 Stanley Cup playoff series in my lifetime, 2 Western Conference teams. I have never been to a Sharks playoff game. What 2 teams do you think I've seen in the Western Conference playoffs before? And they are, they are. I'm not going to say anything because I was going to try and give you a hint, but I couldn't do it without giving it away.
I was going to say it might be the same one I was at. I was going to say the Kings and the Coyotes.
Yes, I was also at the Kings Red Wings series. I didn't count it twice because, I mean, not that there was very many playoff opportunities for the Coyotes when they were here. No. That is one. The other one will shock you. And I will tell you, I want to go back because I can only imagine the environment now. But when I was there the first time, it was still pretty damn good. Western Conference, not the Sharks, not a team in California.
It's
a good one.
Colorado?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Colorado. I mean, Colorado for hockey, ridiculously good. Colorado for baseball before the Rockies really, really, really sucked
was good.
Was also a lot of fun too, and hopefully they can actually try and not suck anymore. But I doubt it.
I got one for you. The first hockey playoff game I saw was Game 4. It was a sweep. The Hartford Whalers, the number 4 seed, against the number 1 seed, the Quebec Nordiques, and they swept them in the Civic Center.
In the Civic
Center. Game for Civic Center. They beat the Stastny brothers.
Ooh, that's a good one. Speaking of hockey, obviously tomorrow on the program, TJ will be with us. We will puck around and find out. We've got quite a few things to talk about hockey-wise as we close in on the Olympic break. We're going to get into the Super Bowl matchup with some of our X factors. We'll look at MVPs, and then obviously we'll hit more of that next week when the game comes a little bit closer. We're going to play a little higher by tomorrow. Make a couple of eyeball pokes at the Heisman Trophy list, as well as update you on anything else that is going on. So again, we'll work on the Facebook thing here. Hopefully that won't drag out for too long. Right now, early returns. I want to put my face through glass, but we appreciate those of you that found a different way tonight to join in with us. We're going to see if we can come up with something temporarily for the Facebook audience as well. So tomorrow night, same bat time, same bat channel, lunchtime live. Thursday and Friday, I'm going to pull a switch on you. I am going to broadcast Friday's show from somewhere that you are familiar with that I have never been before. Where do I go? Nobody knows. For TJ, for Vegas, Mack, for everybody behind the scenes, I'm Mike. You know the drill. We'll talk with you tomorrow.